Okay, back here on the Metal Command podcast, Tony here with you. Time to talk about one of my favorite bands, Gravedigger. Anyone who knows me, anybody who has followed me, even going back to the beginnings of my radio show, you know that German heavy metal bands, especially the old school bands that came out in the early 80s or late 70s in regards to like Accept and Scorpions and stuff like that, you know Gravedigger is one of my favorite bands of all time. You know, there was an old adage on Noise Records that the like big four of power metal bands, right? You had Halloween, Running Wild, Rage, and of course, Gravedigger. Four bands that I still follow today, that I still love, that I still go out and buy albums every single time they come out with a new record. Absolutely love all of these bands. Gravedigger is no exception. Chris Boltendahl has been on my radio show. He has been on the podcast a couple years ago. I met him when Gravedigger came and opened for Blind Guardian in 2000. I think it was like 2015. That's when I first met Chris. And I got to be honest, folks, Chris is a tremendously dynamic frontman. The guy is great with an audience. Having never seen Gravedigger live, I was completely blown away, and they were basically the opening band. I actually ended up getting to sit on a bus with Chris Boltendahl, ended up getting to interview him in person. It was just so much fun talking to the guy, and I am extremely enthused about... I'm excited and I'm enthused about the upcoming Gravedigger album, Bone Collector. I believe it comes out in January, I believe that's when it is. January 17th, 2025. I had to kind of look at my notes over there when this new album is going to be coming out. There are some singles out. You have Kingdom of Skulls was pretty much, I believe, one of the first singles they came out with. But, you know, it is... Gravedigger, to me, is one of the most consistent heavy metal bands of all time. When I started my radio show, I remember Knights of the Cross had just come out. I still consider that one of the best albums they've ever done. But Chris has always done a great job when writing concept records. And there's something about looking at a cover of a Gravedigger album, seeing a Grim Reaper figure, skulls, bones, blood, all of that stuff. It's just kind of part of the experience with that band. Chris's voice is also pretty unique, and when you listen to him sing, whether you like his voice or not, you know it's him. Now, he just had a solo album come out. I was kind of lukewarm on that, to be honest. It sounded a lot like Gravedigger, but I get why he made it a solo album. He worked with some other musicians on it. We have a new guitar player in the band now. But man, Gravedigger never misses a beat. Now, I have not heard the entire album. I've heard some songs. But those songs are very good. I think they're gonna exceed. As far as musically, I already like it better than the last album. Now, the first record I ever bought by Gravedigger, and I may have mentioned this before, it was Symphony of Death. It was actually an EP. I ended up getting that in the Reaper, and then Heart of Darkness and Tunes of War. There were 4 albums. I remember hearing about the band in the 90s. Obviously, imports were very hard to come by here. They cost a ridiculous amount of money back in those days. And it was right around when Tunes of War came out, Heart of Darkness. I don't remember exactly what year, 96 or 97. I do know that I picked up all 4 of those releases because I was afraid someone would buy them and I wouldn't be able to get them. Because even when you special ordered an import CD, you might wait months for it to come in. But I remember Symphony of Death, and I remember just how much I loved that EP, and I'm like, this band is cool. Tunes of War, Rebellion, I'm like, this band is cool. And I've pretty much stuck with them ever since. They're really, like when I go in their back catalog, there really are no albums I dislike. You know, I've never been a fan of the albums from the 80s. mostly because of the production and the way those records sounded. But they did, of course, re-record a bunch of those songs and made them sound a lot better. So it really wasn't the songs, it was the sound of the records. I have those 80s albums, but was still never really a huge fan. Mainly because of the production. And that's it. The re-recorded versions sound great. So Bone Collector, for me, in my opinion, is going to be one of the band's better albums. The cover of the album, I'm going to bring this up because I still see comments popping up when this cover gets posted. And it's basically people complaining that there's too much AI being used in making that cover. Folks, it looks like any other Gravedigger album you'll see out there. Skulls, bones, a little bit of blood, a Grim Reaper dude on the front of the cover. I mean, there really is a very common theme to all of their albums, pretty much. And that common theme is a skeleton with a robe and various skeletons and all sorts of things like that surrounding him. So the album cover, I didn't pay that much attention to it, but folks, I couldn't care less that it's an AI cover. And even if it is, or at least it was partially done with AI, ultimately what matters is the vision of what Chris wanted the cover to look like. Obviously, he has a vision in his head. I believe he designed the cover with somebody, but they used some AI tools to design it. Folks, I use AI tools all the time. I use them in Lightroom and Photoshop. I do photography. Actually, I shoot mainly on film. AI helps me color balance the scans from the film into the computer. And so I'm completely fine with the cover, man. The haters can keep hating, whatever. I think it's dumb to hate them for it. That's my opinion. Because it doesn't really look any different than any other Gravedigger album. And instead of having to basically tell somebody what he's looking for in a cover, why not do it yourself? And then you can tweak it. And then you could tweak it into what you want the cover to look like. So I have no problem with that. I am not a big fan of AI for a lot of things, but for something like that, I get it. And I think the cover looks cool. So new Gravedigger, January 17th, 2025. I'm going to try to get Chris on this show at some point, but I'm excited for that album. I think the songs I've heard are very good. I like the production better than the last album. I think it's going to be a good one, folks. Hey everybody, Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching, and if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video, and if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.